It was a quiet morning in a small, unassuming town. The streets were nearly empty, with only a few pedestrians going about their day. Two police officers, Ryan and Blake, were patrolling the area, more out of routine than necessity. As they drove through the neighborhood, they spotted a black man casually walking down the sidewalk, minding his own business. To most people, he would have been just another person out for a stroll. But to Ryan and Blake, he was something else entirely. "What's he doing around here?" Ryan muttered, his tone already dripping with suspicion. Blake nodded in agreement. "Probably up to no good," he replied. Without hesitation, they pulled their squad car over and stepped out, their posture aggressive and their intentions clear. "Hey you, stop right there!" Ryan barked, his hand hovering near his holster. The man stopped and turned to face them, calm and unbothered. "Is there a problem, officers?" he asked, his voice steady but polite. Ryan scoffed. "Yeah, you're acting suspicious. What are you doing in this neighborhood?" "I live here," the man replied simply. But his answer didn't satisfy them. They accused him of loitering, of being out of place, of being a threat, anything to justify their actions. The man, however, didn't argue. He didn't resist or raise his voice. Instead, he stood there quietly, letting them dig their own hole. The situation escalated quickly. Frustrated by the man's composure, Ryan and Blake decided to arrest him. "Turn around and put your hands behind your back," Blake ordered. "For what?" the man asked, still calm but now with a faint smile on his lips. "Don't play games with us," Ryan snapped. Without waiting for an answer, they cuffed him, ignoring the murmurs of bystanders who had started to gather. At the station, things only got worse. Ryan and Blake seemed to enjoy their power trip, making snide comments and mocking the man as they processed him. "Bet you thought you were too good for this, huh?" Blake sneered. The man remained silent, his expression unreadable. It was as if he knew something they didn't, something that would change everything. By now, the officers were so confident in their actions that they decided to press charges and take him to court. To them, this was an open and shut case, just another day of enforcing the law as they saw fit. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't have imagined, was that the man they had arrested wasn't just some random guy. He wasn't a criminal or a loiterer or anyone they had the right to treat this way. He was their superior. The man was Chief Michael Davis, the head of the local police department, and he was about to teach them a lesson they'd never forget. The courtroom was packed. Ryan and Blake sat confidently at the prosecution table, their smug expressions showing they believed they were about to secure a routine victory. After all, they had arrested a suspicious black man who had no business walking through that neighborhood, or so they thought. The man they had arrested, dressed sharply in a tailored suit, entered the room with a calm, commanding presence. The courtroom went silent, the air suddenly heavy with anticipation. People in the gallery whispered among themselves, sensing that this wasn't going to be an ordinary case. When the judge asked for introductions, Ryan and Blake stood up proudly, each ready to testify about how they had upheld the law. But before they could begin, the man they had arrested spoke up. "Your Honor, if I may, I'd like to introduce myself," he said, his voice steady and authoritative. He turned to face the courtroom, his eyes scanning the room before landing on the officers. "My name is Michael Davis. I am the chief of police for this district." You could hear a pin drop. Ryan and Blake froze, their confidence evaporating in an instant. Their smug smiles were replaced by wide eyes and slack jaws as the weight of their mistake hit them like a ton of bricks. The gallery erupted into whispers, and even the judge raised an eyebrow in surprise. Chief Davis continued, "These two officers arrested me without cause, subjected me to insults, and mocked me while I was in their custody. They assumed I was guilty based on nothing but the color of my skin. Today, I am here not just to defend myself, but to hold them accountable for their actions." The tension in the room was palpable as Chief Davis began to lay out the events of that day with precision and clarity. He described how the officers had profiled him, how they had escalated the situation unnecessarily, and how they had ignored his dignity at every turn. But he didn't stop there. Witnesses were called, bystanders who had seen the arrest and heard the officers' comments. Their testimonies painted a damning picture of Ryan and Blake's behavior. "They called him boy," one witness recounted. They said things like, "Let's see how tough you are now." It was disgusting. The officers tried to defend themselves, claiming they had acted out of caution and protocol, but their arguments fell flat. The evidence against them was overwhelming. Chief Davis, maintaining his calm demeanor, addressed the courtroom directly. "This is not just about me," he said. "This is about a system that allows prejudice to go unchecked. If someone in my position can be treated this way, imagine what happens to those who don't have a title or a platform." As he finished speaking, the officers sat silently, their heads hung low. The courtroom was no longer theirs to control. The power had shifted entirely, and there was no turning back. The judge, his face stern, delivered his ruling. "Officers Ryan and Blake, your actions on that day were not just unprofessional, they were a disgrace to the badge you wear. I am ordering an internal investigation into your conduct, and until its conclusion, you are both suspended without pay." The officers slumped in their seats, their humiliation complete. Chief Davis's calm demeanor never wavered as he left the courtroom, his head held high. Outside, reporters swarmed him, but he simply said, "Let this be a lesson. Justice and accountability must apply to everyone, no matter their position." The story made headlines, sparking debates about systemic bias and the need for reform in law enforcement. Chief Davis didn't just win a personal battle, he ignited a broader conversation, proving that even in the face of injustice, dignity and courage can pave the way for change. In the end, justice wasn't just served, it was a wake-up call for everyone in that courtroom and beyond. Chief Davis proved that arrogance and prejudice can crumble when faced with truth and integrity. The two officers, blinded by their biases, learned the hard way that their actions had consequences, especially when their victim turned out to be someone who commanded respect far beyond their understanding. This wasn't just about one man. It was about standing up to a broken system and demanding accountability. Chief Davis's calm but firm response showed the power of resilience and the importance of holding people to their actions, no matter their position.